Master Padma said, whatever actions you engage in, do not do anything non-dharmic that fails to become the accumulation of merit and wisdom. Do not desire anything other than omniscient Buddhahood and benefiting sentient beings. Do not be attached to anything. Attachment itself is the root of bondage. If you consider even slight discomfort to be suffering, it will grow to be more painful. You will find no happiness unless you let your mind rest loosely. Do not pursue former suffering. Everything, whether good or bad, is past and gone. Do not anticipate future suffering. No matter what suffering may befall you now, do not give in to it, but develop courage again and again. In any case, if you do not apply the remedies to your mind, suffering will never cease. Relax your mind in its natural state, without modifying or spoiling it, and turn it gently to what is virtuous. Dakini Teachings, Padmasambhava's Oral Instructions to Lady Sogyal Shambhala, 1990, page 4 through 6. So it's interesting, non-dharma practice, non-dharmic. Do not do anything non-dharmic. Non-dharmic. Well, is what I'm doing dharmic or non-dharmic? Is what I'm doing part of the teaching or not? In other words, am I participating in attachment or am I participating in non-attachment? Am I participating in, as Padmasambhava goes on to talk about, the Mahayana, the unmistakable. So, Master Padma said, whether you meditate on emptiness or anything else, it is mistaken meditation practice unless it becomes an effective remedy against disturbing emotions and ordinariness. Something that does not counteract the disturbing emotions and ordinariness is a cause for falling into samsaric existence. If any teaching you study, reflect upon, or expound becomes an effective remedy against your disturbing emotions, as well as an aid for following the pure Dharma to take birth in your being, then that is called a Mahayana teaching and is unmistaken. No matter how much you may be acclaimed as learned in study, exposition, and meditation, if your intention is only the 8 worldly concerns, your activity is called a black Dharma practice. In any case, it is essential to meditate on appearance and existence as being magical illusions, so as not to allow your attachment and clinging to grow stronger and stronger. A great yogi simply means being free from attachment and clinging. Going back to the priorities of a Buddha. So, this is Darren Littlejohn, author of The 12-Step Buddhist. Welcome to episode 40 of the 12-Step Buddhist podcast, Priorities of a Buddha. The priority of a Buddha is do not desire anything other than omniscient Buddhahood and benefiting sentient beings. So how could we even, why would we do this? Why would we even think like this? How would we even begin to be on a path like this? What would we do? This is opposite of CNN and Trump and who knows what we're inundated with and concerned with. Most of us are basically trying to grind through the day, have a little relief, have a good meal, spend time with friends, and maybe take a vacation, and what are we really trying to do? Maybe we're some people who are trying to feed our soul and go a little bit deeper. Maybe we're artistic or creative or, stuff like that. But most people don't really think too much about the dharmic path and the path of liberation, or even acknowledge when we're in this abundance, in the good fortune of running water, sanitation, shopping malls, and online ordering, and paved roads, vaccines, and all this, We're not necessarily thinking about suffering unless we're people that have emotional disorders, addictions, or when we run into those crises in life when, everybody loses someone. And I wrote about this pretty extensively in The Yoga of Letting Go. Everybody's going to lose somebody every, I think, 8 or 9 years. You're going to lose a pet. You're going to lose a spouse, a family member, a parent. And then what? Some of us just detach and move on. Some of us just drink and get loaded. Some of us suffer and get stuck. Some of us kill ourselves. Some of us kill other people. How many of these are we going to have? How many of these stories are we going to have? How many times is somebody going to walk into a public place and start blowing people away? It's just, So what can we choose? What can we do? Well, Buddha talked about the path, and I'm not going to start at the beginning. I've written a ton on this. There's a lot of material out there, But just for myself, the reason why I'm reading this to you is because this is what I'm reading for myself. Guru Padmasambhava. You don't need anything else, honestly. We talk about the accumulation of merit and wisdom. Merit is like just karma ducats, positive change in the karma bank. I've got merit so that then I've got something I can receive. We accumulate merit by letting go. We accumulate merit by giving it away. As we say in AA, got to give it away to keep it, right? Got to give it away to keep it. Working in the Mahayana path for the benefit of others. Padmasambhava says in this teaching that Mahayana is the path of benefiting others. Do not desire anything other than omniscient Buddhahood and benefiting. So anytime I take pleasure in anything, my cup of coffee, my yoga practice, getting some money, somebody says something nice, good meal, yeah, I want to be grateful. Of course, I want to be grateful. As my teacher, Susie, said last night in class, in the hot yoga class, she goes, nothing grounds me more than gratitude. And that is true. But we look at it with the eye of a Buddha. We look at it with the mind of a meditator. We look at it as a yogi. Is this the satisfaction of my desires? Is this ultimate satisfaction? Is this what I'm settling for? I think we have to have the self-esteem to know that we're worthy of Buddhahood. The priorities of a Buddha. We have to have the self-esteem to know that we are worthy of Buddhahood. And I think, we're conditioned in the Christian nation to feel, stained and to feel like sinners. So, some of us have PTSD and trauma. Some of us have deep wounds. And I don't know if I'm so different in that. There's a lot of people that I meet that are pretty normal. I drive Uber to pay the bills, And I don't know if I told this story last time, but there was a guy I said something to about life being a struggle, and he goes, "Really?" And the kid really, he was like 28 years old. He really had no clue what I was talking about. He's like, I'm like, "Do you not experience that?" He goes, "Oh, no." And he really didn't. I mean, he was being truthful, And wow, for some of us, life is a challenge and a struggle, and a lot of us don't believe in ourselves. A lot of us don't. As my very first counselor in recovery in 1984, Gary McPherson, long gone now, but he had said, "Don't deny your magnificence. Don't deny your magnificence." So, do not desire anything other than omniscient Buddhahood and benefiting sentient beings. Do we even think omniscient Buddha? Do we have anything? Do we have any idea what that even exists? Do we have any idea? If we have a mindfulness practice as a basis, then we can begin to come to an awareness about our existence and about our experience and about the coming and going, about the rising and passing, about impermanence, about the nature of samsara, about our energy, our experience, about what we manifest and how we manifest, about the deep core and the deep root, about our dream state, about our unconscious, about magic, about unlimited potential and infinite emptiness. But if we have no mindfulness practice, we can't even begin to contemplate or consider any of these topics. And again, I always thought it was weird that the Tibetans didn't have much of a silent stillness. I came from Zen for years and years. The Tibetans, they made so much noise, and they stepped on my books and did all this fussing about, or agitated. It agitated me. You know what I mean? You know, I just wanted to sit still in my little chamber of, you know what I mean? My little safety zone as a Zen practitioner, right? Yeah, but that's the tantric practice of energy. The Tibetans are Vajrayana practitioners. You know, but I come from this, you know, from the Zen mindfulness. So omniscient Buddhahood, man, just think about it. Just be it. Just say those words, omniscient Buddhahood. Just take that in your meditation. Omniscient Buddhahood. Just let the truth of what that is vibrate within the core of your essential reality. Omniscient Buddhahood. Just have that as a mantra today and see what happens for you. Omniscient Buddhahood. Look at a Buddha statue, put your palms together and say, may I achieve total liberation for the benefit of all beings. I do this every morning. I just did it. May I achieve total liberation for the benefit of all beings. May all my friends and all my enemies achieve total liberation for the benefit of all beings. You know, this is Mahayana. This is Sutrayana. This is Vajrayana. This is Ati Yoga. We practice the path. And I was talking about this yesterday in my meditation for yoga before my class. You know, we sit in our mindfulness practice and are aware of the body, our physicality, aware of our breath, our energy, linked to our emotions. There's a lot there. Aware of our mind. And this is the practice. This is the practice. This is the yoga. This is the inner game of yoga. This is the yoga of being a badass. This is the yoga of letting go. This is the yoga of self-compassion. Those are all my book titles, by the way, but I'm saying these are the topics I think about. This is my practice. And this is the practice regardless of if I'm sitting still. This is what I learned. This is, I mean, because I sat still for, I don't know, 15, 16 years before I met any kind of yoga or any kind of, you know, Tibetan, different things. But, you know, I didn't know how to be present without being still. I couldn't. I had to escape to the refuge of my cushion. You know, so it's the same practice. The practice doesn't change if I'm moving about or if I'm sitting still. The practice doesn't change. It's mindful awareness. It's observation. It's being present and being present to the deepest emptiness, the deepest core. And there's another, if I can find it, there's another section I had wanted to read. Master Padma said, if you desire to attain the Buddhahood of omniscience, then train yourself in understanding that all ego clinging and fixation on phenomena have no self-nature. No matter what meritorious action you may be involved in, understand that all phenomena are like dreams and magic. And this is what I wanted to get to. In accordance with my oral instruction, train yourself in the emptiness of all phenomena without clinging either to the 6 paramitas or to great compassion. By the power of meditating on emptiness, you should come to realize that the 6 paramitas and the engendered great compassion are also like a magical illusion. Although you meditate on emptiness, make sure that it becomes an aid to virtuous practice and a remedy against your disturbing emotions. So if you want to know what the 6 paramitas are, you can read Perfect Practice. I wrote a book on that. Actually, I just redid it. It's a brand new, completely redone version, new cover, new title, new subtitle, and so on. Grab that on Amazon, Perfect Practice. This is the 6 paramitas. And I'm going to do a podcast on those. But I think I'm going to do a podcast on each of those as we go. But to meditate on emptiness, to understand that even the meritorious actions and wisdom, even Dharma practice is poison, right? This is what they meant when they said, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. this is about non-conceptual. This is about being an ultimate emptiness. But, don't throw the Buddha out with the bathwater. Don't say, well, I'm not going to believe in any Buddha because, to see the Buddha on the road, kill him. You're missing. You got to, okay, if you want to get to that point, great. If you know what you're talking about, if you know what you're doing, get to that point. Okay, there's a Buddha. Okay, here's my practice. Okay, I'm in samsara. This is cyclic existence. This is attachment. This is clinging. I'm clinging to my refuge. I'm clinging to my concept of the Buddha. I'm clinging to my practice on emptiness. I'm clinging to my compassion. You see that at deeper levels, but you can't start that unless you have a mindfulness, a seated stillness, mindful awareness practice. Practice presence. And it's the same practice whether you're on the cushion or whether you're in a standing half moon pose or doing the dishes or arguing with your spouse or commuting, taking a dump. It's the same practice. Do not be attached to anything. Attachment itself is the root of bondage. Well, I don't know how many times I've said this, but, addiction is attachment gone wild. It's a continuum. It's a spectrum. And I'm writing about this in Compassionate Recovery as we go. Oh yeah, my ums and oohs and ahs and this and that. I'm going to Toastmasters. I paid the fee, so you can ding me if you want on the ums and ahs and the so's, the fillers. I kind of think of it as part of my, oratory skills. I'm about to pontificate. But really, you got to clean that up for other people to listen. They don't want to hear your ums and ahs. So my publisher told me to do this a decade ago, and she's passed on. And my therapist just told me the other day, he goes, on the path of your continued success, I want you to go to Toastmasters. So I try to not ask for advice from people whose advice I'm not going to follow. So I signed up for Toastmasters. So maybe you'll hear better, clearer podcasts and clearer speaking skills as I go out and about at some point on these new books and so forth. I'll get out there and start talking about the program, especially about compassionate recovery as that goes. Putting together a kit for that. You can go to the12stepbuddhist.com and go to the12stepbuddhist.com/free-meditations. And you can get your recorded meditations there. I forgot to mention that last time. But the idea here, of this is my practice today, and this is what I'm working on, and I wanted to share it with you because, this is why I do the podcast. It's basically my life and my practice as a recovering being. And, I'm in my own space. I haven't been in my own space for a couple of years. I went through an unbelievable few years of extreme suffering, PTSD, depression, suicidal ideations. I wasn't thinking about drinking or using, but I was certainly thinking about ending it all, often. And I tried to learn to have some self-compassion, so I wrote that first book. I told a little bit about that story, really using the Zen awareness, the mindfulness practice. So go over to Amazon and check that out. It's a short book, and leave me a review, please. But that self-compassion, getting still and silent, that's the basis, the mindfulness practice. And hey, if everything's empty, there's really nothing to worry about, is there? And what is emptiness, and how do we even meditate on emptiness? Well, we have to get teachings on that. We can go around accomplished masters and sit with them and understand the teachings that are being given on emptiness and get an experience. We can get a direct introduction to that experience by being around masters who have that experience. If you want to be around knuckleheads that are full of ego and that are looking at fame and fortune through the Dharma, then you're going to get that. I don't want to go off into that topic, but find real masters. I wrote the book, How to Find a Spiritual Teacher. Find a real master. There are real masters out there. Just go watch the Dalai Lama on YouTube. You know what I mean? I mean, it's right there. It's at your fingertips on your phone right now. Google Dalai Lama on emptiness. That's all you need. And, you know, contemplate. Everything is empty of inherent existence. Nothing exists without a cause. There is no cause that doesn't have a previous cause. This is called dependent origination. There are 12 links to dependent origination. You know, there's so many teachings. The Prajna Paramita Sutra, you know, Tayata Gate Gate Peragate Pedasam Gate Bodhisoha. You know, the mantra of emptiness. There's so many avenues at our disposal to learn and study and teach, or to learn and study and practice. And I feel like, you know, to meditate on emptiness is to have self-compassion, compassion for others. I can't have compassion for others if I don't. I can't practice the Mahayana path. I can't practice the greater vehicle if I am so locked into my narcissistic, self-absorbed, you know, little cosmos of my own internal ego and my own identity and my own suffering and my own victimization, and my own fear and my own trauma, right? You know, so I do yoga daily. I take my practice to the mat. I get up and do my meditation in my front yard. I have a front yard. I practice gratitude. I have a dog and a cat. There's food in my fridge. The house is spotless. It's a Zen space. And yeah, you know, there's weird, you know, I don't know what my deal is, but I hadn't talked to my ex-wife in a couple of months, and she's pregnant with somebody else's baby, and you know what I mean? How can I possibly feel about that? Some random dude at a show. You know what I mean? Like right at the time when I was in love with her and still trying to hold on, you know. Well, here we go, you know. She said she was suffering. I respond, well, you're welcome to come over. Yeah, I let her into my space. Yeah, I have created a healing space here. I do a lot of practice here. I do a lot of healing practice here. I call in the angels. I call in the Buddhas. I call in the Pachamama. You know, I have offerings. I have altars in every room in every direction. I have putting my palms together as I walk by. I have pictures of my teacher. I have incense, Florida water, sage, Palo Santo. I adjust the altars. They're a dynamic, energetic interaction and interplay. Build an altar for yourself. It can start with, my first one was a little cup of water and a weed, a daisy, I think, and a picture of a Buddha. So build an altar. Keep it, make it nice, make it little, make it big, make it whatever you want. But your life is your altar. You know, so I had her over a couple times and just gave her healing. I have nothing else in who I am other than this, you know. No, I'm not getting anything out of it, but is the Dharma about getting anything out of it? Now, am I perversing the Dharma by, you know, covering it, coloring it with my attachments? Like, well, I guess you are until you aren't, you know. Everything's empty. I get up, you know, and I make my coffee and I sit and I do my practice and I let go of everything. As I wake up or as I go to sleep or as I'm about the day and I have waves of PTSD and trauma, you know, I just go, Darren, let it go. You got to let everything go. My mantra is let everything go. Read that book, The Yoga of Letting Go. It's very good. It's deep work. You know, it's not just about someone dying. It's about letting go of this moment. Letting go of everything that isn't the path to attain omniscient Buddhahood. Get it? I mean, this is my point today. You know, the priorities of a Buddha. Letting go. So, you know, I sit with her and I allow the feelings to come and go. Wow, okay, there's a baby. I put my hand on her belly. There's a baby. There's someone's child in there. It's a little boy. It's alive. You know, I rub her feet and kiss her on the forehead, and that's it. I let her rest. Stress affects the infant. Stress, everything you feel affects. Everything my mother felt affected me, and it still is affecting me. So I watched a 5-week series on PTSD as part of research for upcoming works, as I'm doing, constantly researching. The number one medicine, the most effective medicine possible for PTSD is yoga. There's 3 studies from Vanderkolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. And he's got 3 studies which talk about that. But there's also Tai Chi and any movement practice, breathing practice. It's a somatic practice, body practices, neurofeedback, which I have yet to explore, but he says it's the way to go. You can rewire your brain. So I get up, I sit still, I practice presence, I allow the experience to be what it is, and try to relax in the natural state. In lieu of noticing my clinging and my attachment and my suffering, then I start some movement. I go about the day, I do my thing. Drive my Uber, do my yoga, go to the gym, work on books, make podcasts, try to be of service. So that's my story, and that's what I'm working on as a practitioner. We're 26 minutes in. I've gone on forever. This has been episode 40 of the 12-Step Buddhist podcast, The Priorities of a Buddha. This is Darren Littlejohn. You can go to the 12stepbuddhist.com for tons of articles, book recommendations, this podcast. You can find this podcast, of course, on iTunes. And, Facebook's doing a weird thing. They're not letting me share. I don't know. I asked my host provider, and he said Facebook's doing something weird. So my podcast downloads have gone down. So do me a favor and like and share this. Find me on Instagram, 12-Step Buddhist. But like and share because Facebook is controlling the algorithm again. And you have to pay them. I think you have to pay them for anything to be shared. That's what they're after, is your money. You used to just be able to put it up and everybody saw it, but they're like, hey, boost this post for $20. So get the books, leave the reviews. I appreciate it, and I can write more. I've got a new program of recovery coming. It's called Compassionate Recovery. Getting the details fine-tuned with New York on the publisher on that. I'm going around to treatment centers around the country with a kit, how to start compassionate recovery, how to help more people, how to be of benefit. This is the Mahayana of recovery. Okay, more on that later. Adios. Peace out and namaste.